Hey friends, Zolgar here with some exciting news. I'm going to be at SAC Anime in Sacramento, California, September 2nd through 4th, Rose City Comic Con in Portland, Oregon, September 9th through 11th, and Salt Lake FanX in Salt Lake City, Utah, September 22nd through 24th. I won't have a table, but I will have some buttons that I can hand out if you come find me. I'll be hanging out with my friend, the Peculiar Magpie, at his booth selling cool props and nerdy art pieces. I will post pictures and booth numbers on our social media during each show.
I'm Grim.
I'm Zolgar. That's Kaiju.
And this is Two Idiots and a Dog, Idiots on Film.
Where we explore movies that we love
Or think are important for pop culture.
This week we are talking about Free Guy.
So, Free Guy is one of those movies that, on the surface, appears to just be brain candy. Raffle wow. Action-y, comedy. Okay. And that alone would be more than enough reason for us to do it, because we both love those types of movies.
And we both love Ryan Reynolds.
I'll watch the man in almost anything. I mean, I watched him in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
But I don't think either of us have watched him in Green Lantern yet.
I did.
I'm so sorry.
Me too. And so is Ryan. But it's okay, Ryan. I forgive you. If for some reason you're listening to this.
If you're listening to this, don't read my review of Free Guy because I say I have a crush on you.
Listen, I'm not saying that you should call us, but call us. You can bring Blake. I mean, wait, we're supposed to be professionals. Okay, so, all right. Bit aside. Yes, that was mostly a bit. We chose Free Guy because, for a few reasons. One, it's a relatively recent entry.
Yeah. I think it's going to be less than a year old when this episode releases.
Yeah, and it's a decent film. And the more you pay attention, the more you watch it, the more you look at the interplay between the characters and the themes and everything, the deeper this film gets. Not in a Matrix way. Different kind of deep. There are a lot of meta-commentaries on real-world situations and themes. There are a few tropes that rear their head that are used in slightly different ways here. They're still true to their tropes, and, regrettably, because nothing exists in a vacuum, are borderline cliché. But they're still used to great effect here, and overall this makes a film that I think is very enjoyable, and makes something greater than the sum of its parts. And it's also just a great vehicle for Ryan Reynolds to be Ryan Reynolds.
Well, that was a great episode.
I know. All right.
We'll see you next week.
And that's a wrap, folks. I mean, wait, what? We have to do more? Wait, we're being told by our non-existent production team that wasn't good enough and we have to actually do an episode.
I just had to give you a hard time for doing such a long preamble.
Your face is a preamble. And your dog is a preamble. So, Free Guy. First of all, way better than it has any right to be.
Yeah, this movie, this should be a terrible movie.
This should be a dumpster fire.
Yeah, it really should. I mean, first of all, the sentient, I should actually say sapient, sorry, NPC in a video game trope has very rarely been used well.
Yeah, and then you couch it in what is clearly meant to be GTA Online.
Yeah.
And it should have crashed and burned.
And then you also mix it with a love story and a story of stolen intellectual property and...
Yeah. I will say that's one thing about the movie that it could have been a little better in. And that is, I spent the first half of this movie not caring about the real world side of the story at all.
Yeah.
We have a boring, bland, generic white guy. We have when she's in the real world, a boring, bland, generic white girl. And their work was stolen by a tech bro.
By Taika Waititi as a tech bro. Who, honestly, is the best part of the real world cast.
He really is. He really is. He chews the scenery, spits it out, sprinkles a little seasoning on it, and goes in for seconds.
Yeah. And he plays an obnoxious so well, and I do not think I have seen him in anything that I have not enjoyed him in.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And he plays this role really well. Our other supporting character in the real world, the work friend of boring white guy, is very entertaining and checks our white guy protagonist a couple of times.
Even just straight up says, wow, that story sounds like it's full of white privilege.
Yep.
And at the same time, he is set up that it looks like he's going to be a shill. He's going to go full shill and side with Antoine, but in the end, he grows a pair.
Yeah. Once he's like, wait, these guys are actually like alive? No. We're not doing this. I'm out.
Though he also does say that rabbits are apex predators.
I mean, he's not wrong. So we got our cast of characters. In the game world, vanilla white chick is less vanilla.
But still pretty... She's vanilla British white chick.
Yeah.
Then there's, of course, Ryan Reynolds, who is Ryan Reynolds and is Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds as Ryan Reynolds in Ryan Reynolds.
Want to see a version of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, but it's a Ryan Reynolds movie instead.
Actually, no. Can we just do Being John Malkovich, but it's Being Ryan Reynolds?
Both?
Both.
Both is good.
Hollywood, call us. Yeah, so it's... And then you've got his best friend, Buddy.
Who played him again? Is it Kevin Hart?
No, absolutely not. It's someone else. Someone far more talented.
I don't know. I'm terrible with actor names.
I'll be honest, most of the cast, except for Ryan, Channing, and Taika, are people I don't know. But they're all great.
Okay, Bud was Lil Rel Howery.
So, even though the cast are mostly people I don't know, they all did well.
Yeah.
To be clear, when I'm ragging on vanilla white chick and boring white dude, it's not the actors.
No, they played their roles very well. And also, most of the actors are people that main characters. I don't think any of them are really very well known, because...
No, our well-knowns were Channing, Ryan, and Taika.
And, I mean, Channing was a bit part.
Glorified cameo, really.
Though he did have a great, terrible name.
I loved it.
Do you remember what his name was?
Not off the top of my head, but it's one of those wonderful, atrocious video game names.
Revengeman Buttons.
Yep, Revengeman Buttons, that's right.
Let's see. So, of course, Guy is Ryan Reynolds. Millie is Jodie Comer. Antoine is, of course, Taika Waititi. Buddy, as I said, was Lil Rel Howery. I may be butchering some of these
Probably.
names. Our generic white boy is Keys, and played by Joe Keery. And then his work friend is Mauser. Or maybe Mouser, I'm not sure which it was. I am definitely going to butcher this name.
Stop there while you're already behind.
Yeah, well, it's... The first three letters are U-T-K.
Utka.
Yeah, so it's...
I don't have the name in front of me. It's over on your screen, but that's going to be Utk something. Full final pronunciation would depend on what the rest of the name was. But anyway,
yeah,
we're white and we're sorry.
Yeah, we butcher names sometimes.
What do you mean sometimes? All right.
I can pronounce Ryan Reynolds very well.
Man, we're never going to get that Aviation Chin sponsorship.
Are you kidding? If Ryan Reynolds heard that, he'd probably bust up laughing.
We're never getting that aviation gin sponsorship.
I'd rather have Hugh Jackman's whiskey anyways.
I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
We're professionals.
Are we? Are we, though?
We make $32 a month at this.
What is wrong with you people? Stop encouraging us!
Or encourage us more. We'd like to actually be able to afford to eat occasionally. I completely lost my train of thought.
You had one?
I think I did yesterday. Maybe. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure that was just you not having lunch. So, we've got our cast, we've got our characters, we've got our premise. We're not going to walk you through the whole movie. That's
a different podcast. There are plenty of those out there.
They exist. What we are going to walk you through now is the fact that our cool, fun, but also dorky action comedy is going to give us some really... Honestly, some of this is quite biting meta-narrative about entertainment and culture and society and love. And let's start off with entertainment.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking entertainment was a good place to start, because our main biting commentary on entertainment comes from Antoine. And, Antoine is very much, there is nothing more important than money.
You just want to punch him. Taika Waititi is amazing at making you want to punch him in the face.
It just has a very punchable face.
Very punchable.
So he is our vehicle for the corrupt, corporate, entertainment media mogul. He is constantly lying through his teeth. He is stealing other people's work. And he is just doing what he thinks is absolute perfect, the absolute perfect combination of things to get people to give him money for entertainment, and overlooking what people really want. And that's a commentary on not just the video game industry, but the movie industry.
Yeah.
There are some really great movies out there, but I mean, you look at the MCU, and don't get me wrong, I love me some MCU movies, but they
exist to exist at this point.
They are so carefully curated on their content to be the optimal entertainment value for the money. And those are the good ones. There are so many movies that they try to follow in the footsteps of what the MCU does and don't understand it. I'm looking at you, DC. Oh, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Will you please stop flogging Warner Brothers? We charge extra for that.
There are so many of these studios that make movies that are obviously trying to just say, okay, well, this is what's going to sell, and not understanding what people really want from movies.
Yeah, the Free Guy 2, the final meta commentary that the movie gives us, it gives us some great commentary in general on things like love and people and everything after this point in the film. But towards the end of the movie, we see that Free City 2, which was this over-engineered to appeal to that hardcore, chaos gremlin, crime simulator, true gamer fan base, has crashed and burned because it has no soul.
And just to be clear, we are only using the term true gamer in the reference to what it is marketed to, and not that we think there is such a thing as a true gamer.
You play Bejeweled in between stuff at the hair salon? Cool, you're a gamer. You play Call of Duty and nothing but? Cool, you're a gamer with bad taste.
Yeah, you play video games and you want to call yourself a gamer, you're a gamer.
Yeah, And I think that's a great point, and thank you for pointing that out there, that we don't really believe in gatekeeping entertainment media.
No, we do not.
So, and it was supposed to be this better version of Free City, but it didn't have any of the heart. It had none of the soul, and it died. It withered on the vine.
And there's also the fact that it also crashed and burned because Antoine lied through his teeth when he said features it would have. Which, pro tip, game developers, don't tell people your game is going to have a feature and then not include that feature. That's going to upset people a lot.
But of course, that's not the only thing we have a meta-commentary on. We've got a meta-commentary on the individual player themselves in the myriad of in-game behaviors versus real-world counterparts that were shown.
And then especially we get even more meta-commentary on that with the streamers.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you're a little bit more in touch with that scene than I am. Did they get actual streamers for that?
I don't believe they got actual streamers for that, but they parodied streamers very well. It was clearly exacerbated for comedic effect, amplified for comedic effect, especially Revengeman.
Yeah.
His real-world counterpart was pure comedy.
Oh, I knew he wasn't an actual streamer, because also I recognized that actor. I couldn't place him, but I've seen him before.
Yeah, I don't think they got actual streamers for the other bits, but I could be mistaken. I do know that they were, at the very least, they would have been modeled on some of the real streamers that are out there, as well as some of the YouTube commentators and things like that. And I felt that part of it was really a good representation. When those sequences played, I knew this movie was going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because up until then it was good, but there's always that, we're still handling video games through the lens of Hollywood. How's this going to pan? Oh. Okay, someone on the writing team is actually dialed into gamer culture.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see that, right? You see that with a lot of this because, like I said in our note session, this one handles video game rules so much better than any other video game movie I have seen.
Yeah, it's not perfect. It bends the rules a little bit, and the technical side of it gets a little here and there.
Yeah.
But for a Hollywood property, this is one of the better ones, if not the best.
Yeah, and there, like I say, there's the meta commentary on how people play video games. The fact that Guy goes about leveling up by being a good guy.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Granted, real world, there are people who will do that. They'll be like, I'm going to play this game and I'm going to be a good guy. But they're not very common because, especially in a game like, in GTA style, because GTA exists for you to fulfill your crime fantasies.
Yeah, it's there for the cathartic release of mayhem and carnage. There's multiple places, multiple commentaries scattered throughout this movie about these people, both the virtual versions of themselves they choose to present and then the real world, like the big tough bank robber who's a foul-mouthed 12-year-old girl.
Revengeman Buttons, who is a 20-something living in his mom's basement and is every negative gamer stereotype ever. Unfortunately, they did play him up to be a little...
Yeah.
They played him a little on the negative queer side.
Yeah. That said, though, even this guy who has apparently made his reputation as a streamer, doing over-the-top crazy chaos, blow-up, explodey stuff, is shown to be a fan of Guy.
Yeah, he's like, oh, Guy, I love you.
It's Blue Shirt Guy. I love you.
Yeah, which is kind of a great thing, because the first time they're trying to get the file from him, they're trying to rob the place, and they fail to get it. And then Guy walks in trying to steal it, and he's just like, "Oh, you're Blue Shirt Guy?
Wait, you need this clip? Really? This clip? It's yours.
I don't know why you need it, but here, have at it.
It was about that point where some of what was happening in the real world finally started clicking for me as being interesting. Because now we finally had this interplay between Millie and whatever his name was.
Keys.
Millie and Keys, we had that interplay going, and then they were playing off of Mauser a little bit, Antoine. Like, it was finally starting to get dynamic enough that I was actually starting to care a little bit. I was still having way more fun with Guy's story.
Yeah.
And then those two stories started intersecting more and more, weaving into a single cohesive narrative. And
I think that gives us a good place for one of the other meta-commentaries, which is the meta-commentary on life itself.
I told you, this movie got deeper than you would ever realize until you stop and think about it.
So there's a scene, and I mean, it's a kind of scene that's always going to happen in one of these movies, where Millie has to reveal to Guy that he is an NPC. That he is not real. He doesn't exist. His entire reason for existence is to be a virtual punching bag for people who get their jollies killing pixelated people. And Guy crashes and burns. He has been doing all of this great stuff. He has been working hard. He's been being a good guy. And he realizes it's all pointless. And does what a lot of, honestly, especially a lot of us privileged white men would do if we were doing so much work and just told, oh yeah, everything you've done is completely pointless and none of it matters. And just goes to being a dick. And then he goes to his friend. His best friend, who is also an NPC in the world. And he's breaking down, and he asks his friend, well, what would you do if you found out you weren't real?
Yeah. And there's a little back and forth, but we finally settle on Buddy and him and going, I'm sitting here with my best friend who's going through it, and I'm helping him through it. And what's more real than that?
Yeah, the commentary, especially that commentary coming from the stupid, cowardly security guard whose entire purpose is standing there in the bank when it gets robbed and dropping his gun on the floor and laying down to let the robbers rob the place.
Yeah. And it was an important scene for multiple reasons. First, it pulled the Guy far enough back from everything to really stop and assess and come to a point that they never put into these exact words, but which I've seen around the internet more than a few times, and it's commentary on nihilism. And that basically, if nothing you do matters, everything you do matters.
Okay, Syndrome.
The other thing it does is it shows that the other NPCs in the system are remember, they're all being powered by the same AI system that powers Guy. Throughout most of this movie, we've kind of watched all of them. They're just like, oh, well, they're all stupid. They're all dummies. They're not awake like he is. And this scene, very importantly, looks at that concept that we have been shown, not shown, but we're allowed to think, and goes, no. It's asymmetric development.
So I will disagree with you in saying that it's shown them to be all stupid, because this is the point where it really cements to us that yes, they are growing, but we start seeing hints of it from the moment Guy orders a cappuccino, because after he's like, oh, I'm just kidding, medium coffee, cream, 2 sugars. And he leaves. We see the barista basically sit there and go, and think about it.
Yeah.
And then when the arm candy character, he says, well, maybe you can be with a good guy. And she's like, or maybe I don't have to be with any guy.
Yeah. like, we had these little moments, but, like, I'm just being, like, in the greater, we were allowed to make that assumption that they're all stupid.
Yeah,
the narrative was very specifically set up to allow us to make that assumption. At no point do they look at us and go, haha, look at them, they're stupid, because that undermines the entire meta-narrative they're trying to tell.
Yeah, but like I say, that moment is very much the point of where we go from these little hints to, yes, these are all people. They are They did not get the same catalyst Guy did, but they are all people. They are all developing as people.
Yep. And all of these NPCs waking up, Guy doing his thing, this investigation it accelerates everything to where we get to the point where Antoine does the tech bro version of panicking. And it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to go destroy the servers. And in that moment, we get this really good... There's a few heartbreaking moments throughout it. Like, we lose Buddy. But we also got the fight with the dude.
The dude is great.
The dude is great, and that fight gave us some great cameos, not just of people, but of properties. I mean, we got the Captain America shield, and then we cut to Chris Evans.
What the
Yep. Great cameo. There's a lightsaber in there at some point. So it's not just people that are getting cameos in this. It's other references to other things that really just kind of cement. This is a video game with crossover content.
Well, and
cross-brand promotions.
Yeah, and also another thing that really cements it that it's a video game is Dude. Dude is unfinished, and
it's obvious.
Catchphrase.
Yep. If you've ever played that little piece of downloadable content that you knew was not done, the dude is here to rep you.
Though catchphrase as a catchphrase is pretty dope.
It's glorious, and then, he beats him by not beating him.
Yeah, by breaking his wee little mind and showing him that the world is so much greater.
Yeah, it's great. It's well done, and we get to our climax, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens because you should really go. Like, I know I keep saying I don't want to do this, but you really should go see this. You should watch this movie. It's really entertaining and fun, but the really important stuff, for me anyway, happens after the climax. When we're actually in our wind down, kind of not quite full epilogue mode, but we're getting there type of thing.
Friendly gesture.
God. And at this juncture, we've got a couple of tropes that we set up. Because we've got, our protagonist has the girl. And we're clearly setting up that we've got our generic white nerd boy also falls for the girl. And so we're all, anybody who's been paying attention is sitting there waiting for the shoe to drop. For the love triangle garbage to happen, or for them to find a way to be together, and the movie abruptly goes, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, Guy looks at Millie because Millie comes into free life is what they call the.
I don't remember.
Yeah, they call it free life. They're basically their Second Life world where you just go hang out with these intelligent NPCs.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I don't know how to tell you this. And he's like, well, here, let me. And basically Guy, I'm crazy about you, but this isn't going to work because I can't live my life in here. And
it's this incredibly self-aware moment that breaks the Hollywood archetypes.
Yeah, where a Guy straight up says that he understands she can't be with him because he is a digital being in a digital world, and she is a physical being in a physical world.
And there's this really touching thing, and I'm not going to go through the whole speech because I won't do it justice, but he goes over all the reasons why he likes her. And then he just looks at her. I'm kind of tearing up a little bit because really I'm not much for romance, but this was such a great moment that every so often my hopeless romantic sap gets triggered, and we're there. I'm tearing up a little bit.
Grim's a weepy romantic bitch.
Anyway, and he looks at her and he lists off all these reasons that he likes her. And he goes, I'm a love letter. The author's out there.
And that is, of course, when she just kind of puts all the pieces together and realizes that Keyes has been mad about her for years.
And from his perspective, he told her in the video clip he sent her, the one she never finished watching. And she finishes watching it to confirm what she has put together. And she goes and she finds him on the street because he went out to get coffee.
Yeah. And then we get that little moment where he's like, I'm going to go get coffee. You want one? And she's like, no, I'm going to log in. And he's like, okay, I'll bring you one. And she says, yeah. And starts to tell him her order. And he's like, I know. Medium coffee, cream, 2 sugars.
Mm-hmm. All these little things. And, like, Guy was not lying in that moment. He was a love letter.
Yeah. The whole point of Guy, and it's how he wakes up, is that Guy was the lovelorn guy. He was the guy who is, head in the clouds, looking for the perfect woman, and is destined to never meet her because she doesn't exist in their game world. But then he meets her because she exists in the real world.
And what I love about it, all of this, is I haven't seen this very often, and I can't think of a recent sci-fi property I've seen it in personally. I'm sure it exists somewhere. But this take on the program has become self-aware takes that trope, that cliche, and adds just a dash of realism to it in that for these people to become people, they had to start from a base seed. A core set of traits, desires, things they wanted, things they liked, things they could be. And from there, they blossomed and grew out into these complex people, creating a digital organic intelligence.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder, all of these various other NPCs, what their archetypes were. Was Buddy supposed to be, that friend, the literally with you until the end friend?
Yeah. And I like that Guy is the only one we get explained because it's central to the plot. He is our catalyst and our protagonist. But everybody else, it at least this film, maybe we get a sequel, maybe we don't. I don't know what that sequel would even be about. But at least within the confines of this movie, no other outlying media, no spin-off book or what have you that may or may not exist, I don't know. None of the other people in that world are explained. We are not told what is their core programming, their seed that they grew from, and what is just them. We know some of the things that they grow into. Arm Candy writes her treatise on feminism. That's pure growth, baby.
Yeah, and now I will say I honestly hope that there is not a sequel to this movie.
I don't know what they would do with it.
Because there is one direction I could see them going with it, but I don't think they would do it. Imagine for a moment a sequel to this movie that starts trying to deal with the legality of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it'd be a nightmare.
And it could be a really great movie, but it would not fit the tone of this. It's a movie I would want to see, but it's not a movie that I think would make a good sequel to what we got here.
Yeah, I agree. So we have this kind of like brain candy movie, but it's got all of these meta commentaries that are cut very deep. They're very poignant observations about entertainment, culture, and society as a whole, but also on what is a person, what makes a person, and what is love.
Baby, don't hurt me.
Don't hurt me no more. Yeah. It's a really good movie. It does.
Which I think the question of what is love, though,
yeah,
without being silly.
Yeah.
There is one thing that you kind of got to wonder regarding this movie and how it's set up.
Mm-hmm.
That, okay, so Guy is in love with Millie, but he is in love with Millie because that's what he was programmed for. So is that real?
And I'm just going to go ahead and fall back on Buddy. What's more real than that? You know, take that step back. Look at it. But at the same time, Guy was also self-aware enough to go, it can't work. It's not fair to her. It's not fair to him. And again, the fact that they made him self-aware enough as a person, not just a character, not just a protagonist in the movie, but as a person, they made him self-aware enough. And no, I cannot possibly adequately explain that distinction, by the way, between those three. I cannot, but it matters, I promise you. But as a person, self-aware enough to look at it objectively and go, I'm crazy about you, but nah.
Yeah.
I'm not your guy. I'm a guy, I'm not your guy.
Though, of course, while it was very well done in this movie, the trope of the lovelorn guy and clueless girl is so overused.
You just got to be a grumpy guess about everything.
Look, it's just a problematic trope that gets so overused and really feeds into the idea that straight men and women can't be friends. That he's always going to want more from the relationship than just friendship.
I feel in this instance specifically, it's counterbalanced by Guy's arc.
Oh, in this instance, it's done very well. I don't deny that. But nothing exists in a vacuum, so we have this trope used so often that even in this instance where it is done well, it still bugs me a little bit. It doesn't bug me as much as it does in some other things, but that's beside the point. But, I do have one very important final question.
All right, what is your final question?
How does Millie kiss Guy? There's not a button for that.
Obviously, she made the button.
Giggity?
Gamer girls make do?
Well, I think that's it for this week. Please consider rating, reviewing, following, and all that other nonsense on your favorite podcast platform.
If you'd like to tell us how much of idiots we are or send Kaiju fan mail, you can email us at tiaadmedia@gmail.com, or you can join us on Discord and the various social media platforms linked to the show notes.
You should also check out this great podcast. Who are we promoting this week?
We record these well in advance. I guess we'll just have to listen to the promo to see who it is.
Hey everyone, this is D of FTO Podcast. We talk about a lot of nerdy things in my podcast, from TV shows to movies, video games, and even comics. We have interviews, talk about the week's news. Make sure you check out the podcast whenever you get a chance, wherever podcasts are found. But right now, you're listening to Two Idiots and a Dog podcast. Enjoy.
That was the greatest promo I've ever heard. It moved me to tears.
It was so good, I already forgot who it was for. I guess I have to go check the show notes now.
We'd also like to give a quick thank you to our supporters on Patreon and Ko-fi.
Especially these idiots, Random Warrior and Rain.
Thank you.
We couldn't do it without you, you dirty, dirty enablers.
We're professionals.
Mm-hmm.
If you like what you...
If you like what you do...
Well, good. If you like what you do, good on you. If you like what we do, what's wrong with you? But please consider supporting us on Patreon or Ko-fi.
You can get access to episodes a week early, shoutouts in our episodes, and special behind-the-scenes bonus content.
Also, we won't put commercials in our Patreon episodes.
You can find us at patreon.com/TIAAD media and kofi.com/TIAAD media.
Those links are also in the show notes as well.
And of course, thank you for listening to Two Idiots and a Dog.